As we drift softly into the story of the Mycenaean world, we begin at its earliest origins, a period when the Aegean landscape was slowly transformed by human ingenuity, settlement, and evolving culture. Long before the imposing palaces and cyclopean walls defined their civilization, the ancestors of the Mycenaeans laid the foundations of a society that would blend maritime connection, agriculture, and artistry into a coherent cultural identity. Imagine rolling hills dotted with wild olive trees, valleys brimming with cereals, and the distant sparkle of the Aegean Sea, alive with the movement of small boats and the occasional glimpse of a coastal village. Around 1600 BCE, the Mycenaean civilization begins to emerge from the shadows of the earlier Minoan culture of Crete, adapting and transforming influences into something distinctly mainland Greek. Early settlements cluster around fertile plains, rivers, and defensible hilltops. These communities are modest, yet they possess the ingenuity to manipulate stone, clay, and timber to create dwellings, storage facilities, and communal spaces. In these quiet villages, daily life revolves around the rhythms of nature: planting, tending animals, collecting wild fruits, and fishing along the coast. Life is structured yet intimate, an interplay of human effort and environmental awareness. Stone foundations define the first palatial prototypes, precursors to the monumental centers that will dominate later centuries. These early structures, though small in comparison, reflect careful planning and an understanding of space, function, and durability. Floors are packed earth or stone slabs, walls constructed from local limestone or mud brick, and roofs of timber or thatch shelter families in their domestic activities. Hearths provide warmth and sustenance, while storage pits hold surplus grain, dried herbs, and preserved meat. Imagine the soft crackle of fire in a central hearth, the scent of roasting grain, and the quiet murmur of conversation as families gather after a day of labor. Agriculture forms the backbone of early Mycenaean life. Cereals such as barley and wheat are cultivated in terraced fields, their growth guided by careful observation of soil, rainfall, and seasonal patterns. Olive trees, grapevines, and fruit orchards supplement the diet, providing oil, wine, and nourishment essential for both daily sustenance and ritual offerings. Livestock, including sheep, goats, and cattle, graze in open pastures, their presence integral to both economy and diet. The work of tending crops and animals is cyclical and meditative, instilling a rhythm that shapes social and spiritual life alike. Craftsmanship begins to flourish in these early settlements. Pottery, initially simple and functional, gradually becomes more refined, decorated with geometric motifs, spirals, and patterns inspired by the natural world. Artisans work clay, carefully shaping vessels for storage, cooking, and ceremonial purposes. Imagine the gentle pressure of hands molding soft clay, the rhythmic turn of a simple wheel, and the soft scratching of a stylus creating delicate designs. These objects are more than utilitarian. They carry symbolic meaning and aesthetic pleasure, bridging everyday necessity with cultural expression. Trade and exchange, though modest in this early period, begin to expand the horizons of the Mycenaeans. Small boats navigate along the coast, exchanging goods with neighboring communities, and occasionally traveling to the islands. Obsidian, pottery, and crafted tools move between settlements, establishing networks that will expand dramatically in later centuries. These exchanges are quiet but essential, creating links that foster technological diffusion, artistic influence, and early forms of diplomacy. The social structure begins to crystallize in these formative years. Families organize themselves hierarchically, with elders guiding communal decisions and rituals. Leaders emerge based on skill, wisdom, or martial ability, presaging the later formalized authority of the wanax or king. Social cohesion is maintained through shared labor, religious observance, and communal celebrations, creating bonds that sustain both practical and spiritual life. Imagine quiet councils in a central courtyard, decisions made through discussion and consensus, while nearby children play under the watchful eye of parents and older siblings. Religion, though simple at this stage, already permeates life. Household shrines, sacred groves, and small altars dot the landscape, connecting humans to the cycles of nature and the unseen forces that govern daily existence. Offerings of food, oil, and small crafted items accompany whispered prayers. Rituals are intertwined with agricultural activities, marking planting and harvest, the birth of livestock, and transitions in human life. The spiritual awareness cultivated in these early years sets the tone for the elaborate ceremonial life that will flourish in later centuries. By 1500 BCE, settlement patterns begin to evolve. Defensive hilltop locations become more pronounced, reflecting a need for security in an increasingly complex social landscape. Communities expand, forming proto-palatial centers with workshops, storage facilities, and administrative spaces. The construction of roads and terraces enhances the efficiency of transport and agriculture, while specialized crafts emerge. Metallurgy, textile production, and pottery become more sophisticated. Bronze, crafted from imported copper and tin, enables stronger tools and weapons, transforming both labor and martial capabilities. Early Mycenaean art reflects an attentiveness to both human and natural forms. Frescoes painted on walls capture birds in flight, bulls charging across ceremonial spaces, and stylized marine scenes that echo Minoan influence while retaining mainland character. Jewelry, small carvings, and decorative objects showcase skill and aesthetic sensibility, turning everyday life into a canvas for expression. The quiet act of creating, shaping clay, weaving textiles, or hammering bronze, provides both utility and meditative reflection, embedding artistry into daily routines. Trade expands beyond the immediate mainland. Contact with Crete introduces new ideas, artistic motifs, and technological methods, including advanced pottery techniques and administrative practices. Maritime travel requires skill, patience, and observation, fostering an early seafaring culture. Coastal settlements thrive as nodes of exchange, where goods, information, and cultural practices converge. Imagine the calm of a small harbor at sunrise, fishermen preparing nets, traders inspecting amphorae, and the soft glint of bronze tools catching the first light. Life balanced between labor, art, and the rhythmic pulse of the sea. In terms of governance, the proto-palaces serve as administrative centers. Linear B, an early script, begins to appear on clay tablets, recording inventories, offerings, and transactions. These early records demonstrate an emerging sophistication, revealing a society attentive to organization, resource management, and the complex logistics of settlement life. The quiet scratching of styluses into clay marks a bridge between memory and permanence, enabling communities to plan, remember, and coordinate on a scale that transcends individual lifetimes. By 1400 BCE, the Mycenaean world begins to coalesce into recognizable patterns. Palatial centers grow in size and complexity, establishing social hierarchies, specialized labor, and a nascent bureaucratic system. Fortifications become more elaborate, workshops proliferate, and artistic expression reaches new heights. Yet even as sophistication increases, daily life remains intimately tied to the land, the seasons, and the rhythms of labor and ritual. The balance of practical necessity and cultural refinement continues to define this emerging civilization. Family, community, and ritual life create a social fabric that is both resilient and adaptive. Children learn practical skills alongside oral traditions, stories, and songs that preserve cultural memory. Ceremonies mark births, marriages, harvests, and seasonal change, grounding life in cycles that extend beyond individual experience. Even as the Mycenaeans innovate in technology, administration, and art, they remain anchored in patterns of daily life that are enduring, contemplative, and profoundly human. By the end of this early period, the Mycenaean civilization has established the foundations of a remarkable culture, a blend of agricultural mastery, artistic refinement, maritime skill, and emerging administrative sophistication. The hills, valleys, and coasts of the Greek mainland are alive with human presence, quietly shaped by hands both practical and artistic. Palaces, villages, and sacred spaces foreshadow the monumental achievements of later centuries, offering a glimpse into a society poised between humble beginnings and grandeur yet to come. As night settles across the Aegean hills, the smell of hearth smoke, the soft rustle of olive trees, and the gentle lapping of waves provide a serene backdrop to reflection. The early Mycenaeans moved through their world with purpose, creativity, and mindfulness. Their lives, though separated from us by millennia, carry rhythms and values that remain familiar. Labor intertwined with observation, ritual, and art, community balanced with individuality, and a profound awareness of the natural and spiritual worlds. In this reflective space, we sense the gentle continuity of human endeavor, the quiet evolution of culture, and the enduring connection between people and place. The early Mycenaean world is at once simple and sophisticated, tranquil and dynamic, forming the first chapter in a civilization whose story will unfold across centuries, guiding our imagination, enriching our understanding, and lulling us toward calm contemplation and rest. Our journey begins in the early 2nd millennium BCE, a time when the Greek mainland was dotted with small communities, yet the seeds of a grand civilization are taking root. The Mycenaeans emerge from a blend of indigenous populations and influences from the wider Aegean, particularly the Minoan civilization on Crete. Imagine, if you will, the first palaces rising amidst the hills, timber and stone carefully shaped to create spaces not just for defense, but for governance and culture. In these early centuries, settlements are modest, yet increasingly sophisticated. Mud brick houses give way to stone foundations, and as populations grow, fortifications become essential. The first palaces, including those at Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos, are not merely residences. They are centers of administration, storing records of trade, tribute, and resources. The linear B tablets, which archaeologists have painstakingly deciphered, reveal the lives of scribes, merchants, and officials who meticulously recorded quantities of grain, oil, livestock, and manufactured goods. Each tablet is a window into an organized society, a network of people whose daily labor sustains the kingdom. We float along the busy corridors of a palace, where bronze tools clink in workshops, and the scent of resin from carpentry fills the air. Women weave textiles of wool and flax, creating vibrant fabrics that would later be treasured across the Mediterranean. Artisans craft pottery, their hands shaping clay into elegant forms, decorated with intricate motifs of spirals, waves, and animals, reflecting both aesthetic sensibilities and cultural symbolism. Goldsmiths hammer delicate jewelry, the sunlight catching the surfaces as they produce ornaments for both the elite and ceremonial purposes. Life outside the palace walls is equally vivid. Farmers till the land with wooden plows, tending fields of barley and wheat, while shepherds guide flocks of sheep and goats across rolling pastures. The rhythm of the seasons dictates work, festivals, and rest. In towns and villages, families gather around hearths in the evenings, sharing meals of bread, olives, cheese, and wine. The social fabric is tightly knit, and oral tradition preserves stories of ancestors, heroic deeds, and divine favor, passing wisdom to younger generations beneath the whispering olive trees. As the Mycenaeans expand, so too do their interactions with other cultures. Trade routes extend across the Aegean and beyond, fostering not only economic prosperity but also cultural exchange. Minoan influence is particularly profound, evident in architectural styles, fresco painting, and religious practices. Frescoes depict vibrant scenes of nature and ritual, bringing walls to life with depictions of leaping dolphins, sacred bulls, and ceremonial gatherings. These images offer glimpses into the aesthetic values and spiritual world of the Mycenaeans, where beauty, nature, and the divine intertwine seamlessly. At the heart of Mycenaean society is the wanax, or king, whose authority is both political and sacred. The wanax presides over feasts, administers justice, and commands armies when necessary. His palace is a microcosm of the kingdom, a hub where scribes, merchants, warriors, and priests converge. Yet, beyond the walls, life continues in the villages, and here, everyday rhythms and intimate moments reveal a humanity that resonates even today. Children chase one another through sunlit courtyards, elders recount stories beneath the shade of trees, and the pulse of a connected community beats steadily against the backdrop of history. As evening descends, the Aegean sky deepens into twilight, and the golden citadel walls glow softly in the last rays of the sun. In this calm, reflective moment, we pause to imagine the interconnected lives of the Mycenaeans, the balance of palace and village, work and ritual, commerce and art. With each passing day, their society grows in complexity, laying the foundations for a world that will endure in memory long after the walls themselves crumble. The heartbeat of Mycenaean civilization resonates most clearly in its palaces. As we drift through time, we observe the construction of monumental citadels, fortified with imposing cyclopean walls. Mycenae, with its famed Lion Gate, stands as both a military stronghold and a symbol of prestige. Imagine massive limestone blocks, expertly fitted together without mortar, forming ramparts that have withstood millennia. This architecture speaks not only of strength but of a society capable of coordination, planning and shared purpose. Inside the palace, corridors and chambers unfold like the pages of a manuscript, each space serving a distinct function. Administrative rooms house clay tablets recording detailed inventories, jars of olive oil, quantities of wheat, flocks of sheep, and shipments of bronze weapons. Scribes, trained in the linear B script, move silently from room to room, their styluses scratching symbols onto soft clay. These records, while practical, also reveal a society aware of its own complexity, capable of managing resources across a wide territory. We pass into workshops filled with artisans, bronze workers casting weapons, goldsmiths forming intricate jewelry, and potters shaping vessels both utilitarian and ceremonial. Each artifact carries a story of skill, innovation, and aesthetic sensibility. Frescoes adorn walls with scenes of nature, ritual, and festivity, connecting the inhabitants to their environment and their gods. The imagery is not merely decorative. It reinforces social hierarchy, religious devotion, and communal identity. Power in the Mycenaean world is centralized, yet it depends upon networks of local governance. Smaller settlements send tribute to the palace, and local officials ensure compliance and loyalty. Trade extends beyond the mainland, with merchants sailing across the Aegean to exchange wares with Minoan Crete, Anatolia, and Cyprus. Bronze, a combination of copper and tin, fuels both practical and ceremonial needs. Swords, shields, tools, and decorative items all testify to the importance of metallurgy in daily life and prestige. Religion permeates every corner of palace and city. Shrines and sanctuaries honor gods whose identities often blend with natural elements: the sun, the sea, and animals. Rituals are conducted with careful attention, offerings of food, drink, and valuable objects securing favor and protection. Priests, often closely connected to the palace, interpret signs and oversee ceremonies, their voices blending with the murmur of daily life and the ceremonial music of lyres and flutes. As we drift through these spaces, we sense the rhythm of Mycenaean life. The palace is a living organism, pulsing with activity, authority, and culture. Beyond the walls, agricultural labor, trade, and domestic life continue in harmony, sustained by the organization and oversight of the central administration. The balance of control and creativity, of duty and beauty, defines the Mycenaean world, offering a glimpse into a civilization that values both power and refinement. Evening in the palace is quiet but vibrant. Torches flicker along hallways, casting gentle shadows on stone walls. The Wanax convenes with advisors, warriors maintain arms, and artisans reflect on the day's work. Outside, the sun sinks into the horizon, painting the hills and citadel walls in hues of amber and rose. It is a time of reflection, a moment to feel the human heartbeat of a world that, though ancient, resonates with the same rhythms of care, diligence, and wonder that we know today. As we leave the palace corridors behind, our attention drifts outward, toward the vibrant landscapes and bustling villages that form the lifeblood of the Mycenaean world. Here, life moves at the gentle, steady rhythm of the seasons, anchored in agriculture, craft, and community. The valleys and hillsides stretch before us, dotted with farmsteads, orchards, and vineyards. Olive trees sway softly in the wind, their silver-green leaves glimmering under the sun, while clusters of wildflowers color the meadows in muted shades of gold, purple, and crimson. Sheep and goats graze lazily along terraced fields, guided by watchful herders who know each stone and hollow of their land. In these villages, the heart of daily life is the household. Imagine the interiors of modest homes, constructed from timber, mud brick, and stone. Hearths glow warmly, the flicker of firelight casting dancing shadows on walls adorned with simple decorations. Families gather here to prepare meals, often a combination of bread, legumes, olives, cheese, and occasionally fish or meat, depending on the season. The scent of roasting grain mingles with that of herbs plucked fresh from small gardens, while the sound of children's laughter echoes through courtyards, blending with the soft bleating of animals nearby. Women play a central role in domestic and economic life. They spin wool into thread, weave intricate patterns on looms, and maintain storerooms stocked with grain and oil. Their hands move with practiced grace, shaping textiles and baskets with a rhythm that mirrors the flow of daily existence. In some households, women also participate in small-scale craft, such as pottery decoration or simple metalworking, contributing both to the family's sustenance and to the broader economy. In doing so, they maintain the delicate balance between work, care, and the cultivation of beauty in everyday life. Men, meanwhile, divide their time between farming, herding, trade, and defense. Fields of barley, wheat, and legumes demand constant attention, and irrigation channels and terraces demonstrate a practical knowledge of land management that sustains communities through the cycles of drought and rain. Shepherds move flocks across hillsides, their voices calling in patterns learned over generations, while hunters and fishermen provide supplementary food sources. Some men travel to coastal ports, loading and unloading goods from ships, trading pottery, textiles, and metals for imported items such as tin, precious stones, and luxury goods. The Mycenaeans are also artists in their own right, and this creativity is expressed not only in palaces but in everyday life. Pottery, one of the most common artifacts found in archaeological sites, is both practical and beautiful. Bowls, cups, storage jars, and cooking pots are carefully shaped and fired, often decorated with motifs drawn from nature. Spirals that suggest the movement of water, rosettes echoing the blooms of wildflowers, and leaping animals that capture motion in elegant simplicity. These designs are not purely ornamental. They communicate cultural identity, religious symbolism, and the aesthetic values that pervade the society. Music, too, enriches the daily rhythm. Lyres, flutes, and percussion instruments accompany work, ritual, and festivity. Imagine the gentle strumming of strings as a family gathers after a long day in the fields, children singing softly along with melodies passed down through generations. Music is woven into the fabric of life, linking the practical and the sacred, the laboring day with moments of reflection and joy. It is as much a part of existence as bread and water, a quiet thread connecting past to present. Religion permeates even the most ordinary tasks. Offerings are made at small household shrines or nearby sacred groves, where the rustle of leaves and the trickle of water serve as a natural accompaniment to prayer. Mycenaeans venerate a pantheon of deities, many associated with fertility, weather, and protection. The double axe, labyrinths, and depictions of bulls in art suggest sacred rituals that honor both human labor and divine oversight. Even in mundane moments, people maintain a consciousness of the sacred, blending spirituality seamlessly into everyday activities. As the day progresses, markets and communal spaces emerge as centers of exchange. Villagers bring surplus grain, olives, wine, and crafted goods to local gatherings, where barter and trade establish both economic and social bonds. Conversations carry news of neighboring settlements, stories of heroic deeds, and practical advice on farming, animal husbandry, and craft. In these spaces, knowledge is shared, alliances are strengthened, and the rhythm of the community pulses steadily, harmonizing with the natural cycles of sun, moon, and season. Education in the Mycenaean world is subtle but essential. Children observe and imitate their elders, learning the practical skills of daily life, tending fields, spinning and weaving, animal care, and the subtleties of trade. Storytelling serves both as entertainment and moral instruction, embedding cultural norms, history, and the values of courage, loyalty, and resourcefulness into young minds. These oral traditions ensure that knowledge passes fluidly from generation to generation, even before writing becomes widespread. As the sun dips toward the horizon, the landscape softens into a palette of pink, gold, and violet. Farmers return from the fields, shepherds guide flocks back to pens, and households light lamps to illuminate hearths. The air cools gently, carrying the scent of earth, grass, and the sea. Children settle near their parents, sometimes sharing tales of gods and heroes, sometimes whispering secrets to one another under the evening sky. The pace slows and reflection becomes a natural companion to the day's labor. In the fading light, social gatherings take on a special rhythm. Feasts are modest but celebratory, bringing together family and neighbors. Wine flows, bread and olives are shared, and stories of ancestors in distant cities are recounted. Music and dance punctuate these gatherings, providing gentle energy and joy. Even as night approaches, the Mycenaeans maintain a connection to both community and nature, their lives framed by work, ritual, and appreciation for the simple beauty of existence. The night air carries sounds of the countryside, the soft braying of goats, the distant splash of water, and the rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. These elements, so ordinary and yet so profound, remind us of the continuity of life across millennia. The Mycenaeans, in their daily routines and celebrations, embody a balance of human effort, creativity, and reverence for the natural world. Their existence is not only a story of kings and palaces, but of ordinary people whose hands shaped the foundations of later Greek culture. As we let our imagination linger among these villages, a sense of calm settles over the mind. Picture yourself walking along the quiet paths at twilight, listening to the gentle rhythms of life, the distant calls of shepherds, and the soft laughter of children. The day comes to a natural close, yet the patterns of life, the lessons of culture, and the beauty of daily practice remain, etched in the memory of the land and the hearts of its people. In this reflective moment, we understand that the story of the Mycenaean world is as much about ordinary life as it is about monumental achievements. From the hearth to the field, from the loom to the marketplace, the Mycenaeans weave a rich tapestry of existence, a tapestry that continues to inspire curiosity and awe even today. As we gently drift in thought through their lives, we feel a profound connection to a distant time, a civilization that pulses with the same quiet, enduring rhythms that surround us now. As we drift further into the Mycenaean world, our journey turns toward the spiritual heartbeat of their civilization. Religion is woven seamlessly into every aspect of daily life, from the grandeur of palace rituals to the quiet offerings at household shrines. The Mycenaeans perceive the world as a place imbued with divine presence, where gods, spirits, and ancestors guide the rhythms of life, protect communities, and influence the outcomes of harvests, battles, and family affairs. Visualize a small sanctuary perched on a gentle hillside, overlooking sun-dappled valleys below. The sanctuary may consist of a simple stone altar, a sacred spring, or a carved niche in rock, yet it is imbued with profound significance. Villagers approach with offerings of food, oil, wine, or small crafted objects, placing them carefully upon the altar. The act is humble, deliberate, and rhythmic, connecting humans to forces greater than themselves. Smoke curls from burning herbs or incense, rising like a bridge between the earthly and the divine, carrying prayers into the warm morning air. In the grand palaces, ritual takes on a more formal, ceremonial dimension. Temples and shrines within or adjacent to palace walls honor gods associated with fertility, agriculture, and protection. Frescoes and reliefs depict sacred bulls, double axes, and nature scenes, each symbol carrying meaning in the language of belief. The labrys, or double-headed axe, for example, is more than a tool. It represents divine authority and sacred ritual, appearing repeatedly in artistic motifs throughout the Aegean. Priests and palace officials oversee these ceremonies, offering guidance, interpreting omens, and ensuring that religious duties harmonize with civic administration. The pantheon of Mycenaean deities, though partially veiled by the passage of time, shows continuity with later Greek religion. Gods and goddesses embody natural forces, human ideals, and communal values. Some deities are linked to fertility, ensuring bountiful harvests and healthy livestock, while others govern war, protection, and justice. In some sanctuaries, sacred trees or springs become focal points of worship, illustrating the reverence the Mycenaeans hold for the natural world. Their belief system is holistic, encompassing both the tangible and the symbolic, the seen and the unseen. Rituals themselves are diverse, reflecting both private devotion and communal celebration. Household rituals often involve small offerings, prayers whispered at the hearth, or gestures toward shrines tucked within courtyards or gardens. These intimate acts of devotion create a continuous thread of sacred attention within daily life, a gentle acknowledgement that humans exist within a web of divine influence. In contrast, public or palace-centered rituals are grand, sometimes involving feasts, processions, and symbolic sacrifices. Such ceremonies affirm social hierarchy, bind communities together, and reinforce the authority of the Wanaks, whose rule is intertwined with divine sanction. Music and dance are integral to these ceremonies. Flutes, lyres, and drums accompany ritual movement, providing rhythm and structure to both individual and communal acts of devotion. Imagine the soft strumming of a lyre as a priestess moves gracefully, her motions echoing the patterns of nature and the cycles of life. The community participates not only as observers but as active participants, their voices blending in song and chant, reinforcing the shared experience of sacred practice. Festivals punctuate the year, often coinciding with seasonal changes, agricultural cycles, or celestial events. During these times, communities gather for feasts, athletic contests, and ceremonial performances, reinforcing social cohesion and collective memory. Food, drink, and music serve as bridges between the mundane and the sacred, allowing the Mycenaeans to experience joy, reflection, and gratitude in unison. Even as evening falls and the celebrations wind down, the lingering sense of ritual connection remains, echoing softly in the hearts and minds of participants. Burial practices provide further insight into Mycenaean religious belief. Elite tombs, often tholos or beehive-shaped, house the dead with grave goods such as weapons, jewelry, pottery, and offerings. These objects serve both as symbols of status and as provisions for the journey into the afterlife. Imagine walking through the quiet chamber of a tholos tomb. The air is cool and still, the walls echo faintly with memory. Each artifact tells a story, linking the living to those who have passed, reinforcing the continuity of family, community, and sacred tradition. Even modest graves, set at the edge of villages or near sacred groves, reflect careful thought and reverence. Burial rituals may include the placement of food, tools, or symbolic items to honor the deceased. Through these practices, the Mycenaeans express beliefs about mortality, memory, and the enduring presence of ancestors. Death is integrated into the rhythm of life, a gentle, solemn counterpart to daily activity and festivity. Art and symbolism permeate both religious and domestic spaces. Frescoes, pottery, and carved objects frequently depict sacred animals, mythological scenes, and ritual imagery. Bulls, lions, and birds appear not only in palaces but in household items, linking the intimate sphere of daily life to broader spiritual concerns. These images create a constant, gentle dialogue between humans and the divine, a visual meditation that reinforces cultural identity and spiritual awareness. As night falls across the Mycenaean landscape, the hills and valleys are bathed in the soft glow of twilight. Shrines stand silently beneath olive trees, hearths glow warmly in villages, and the murmurs of prayer and song drift softly on the breeze. The connection between human endeavor and divine guidance remains ever present, a quiet, sustaining rhythm that guides thought and action. In this calm, reflective moment, we sense the sacred underpinning of everyday life, the gentle interweaving of the material and spiritual realms. Imagine walking through a quiet grove, the rustle of leaves beneath your feet, a small offering in hand. The air is filled with the scent of wild herbs and the cool, damp earth. You pause, acknowledging the presence of something greater, a quiet awareness that permeates not only temples or tombs but the very landscape itself. This sense of connection, of mindfulness and reverence, permeates the Mycenaean world and continues to echo through history. In closing, the religious and ritual life of the Mycenaeans is not confined to grandiose displays or isolated acts of devotion. It is embedded in work, family, craft, and community. It is present in the rhythm of the seasons, in the songs of children, in the gentle glow of a hearth, and in the silent presence of tombs and shrines. As we drift through this serene landscape, our minds ease, attuned to the patterns of devotion, reflection, and continuity that define the Mycenaean experience. The balance of sacred and mundane, of awe and practicality, mirrors the broader essence of Mycenaean civilization. Here, the divine is never distant. It is part of the heartbeat of life, woven into the fabric of existence. And as we gently settle into the quiet of evening, we carry with us a deep sense of connection, a soothing awareness of a world where humans and gods, labor and ritual, life and reflection move together in harmonious rhythm. As we drift further into the Mycenaean world, our focus turns to a dimension of life that pulses quietly beneath the rhythms of everyday existence: defense, warfare, and the presence of the warrior ethos. Mycenaean society, while deeply invested in agriculture, craft, and religion, also recognizes the necessity of security and military prowess. The landscape itself seems aware of this duality. Rolling hills, fertile valleys, and sunlit shores are accompanied by the formidable silhouettes of citadel walls and strategically placed fortresses. Imagine, if you will, the towering cyclopean walls of Mycenae, Tiryns, or Pylos, their massive limestone blocks fitted with uncanny precision, as if guided by unseen hands. These fortifications are not merely practical structures. They are statements of power, resilience, and communal effort. To construct them requires skill, coordination, and labor sustained over years. The walls encircle palaces, administrative centers, and often nearby villages, providing a constant reminder of the balance between daily life and the need for vigilance. Within these walls, the wanax, or king, maintains both civil and military authority. Yet he relies on a network of warriors, scribes, and officials to ensure the stability of the kingdom. Military training begins early for young men who learn to wield spears, swords, and shields with practiced ease. Bronze, carefully alloyed from copper and tin, forms the backbone of weaponry, providing strength and durability for both ceremonial and practical purposes. Armor, often crafted from bronze plates or leather, protects the warrior in skirmishes and larger conflicts alike. While battlefields may seem distant, the culture of defense permeates daily life. Villagers contribute to fortifications, maintain watch posts, and support logistics through food production and craft. Every member of society, in some way, is invested in collective security. Trade routes, crucial for acquiring tin and other essential materials, must be protected, requiring vigilance even in times of relative peace. This constant awareness shapes the social fabric, fostering cooperation, resilience, and a shared understanding of the responsibilities of citizenship. Mycenaean warfare is not merely about conquest. It is also about prestige, honor, and the assertion of influence. Battles are recorded through frescoes, weapons, and ceremonial objects, offering insight into tactics and values. Chariots, drawn by swift horses, demonstrate both technological innovation and status, while foot soldiers form disciplined ranks guided by strategy and leadership. Fortified positions, natural barriers, and careful planning all contribute to a complex understanding of military science, which blends practical necessity with cultural expression. Yet, even in the context of conflict, artistry and ritual remain intertwined. Weapons are often elaborately decorated, combining function with aesthetic appeal. Bronze swords may bear inscriptions or motifs, while shields feature painted symbols or patterns invoking protection and divine favor. These objects bridge the worlds of utility, status, and spirituality, reminding us that the Mycenaeans perceive life as a seamless integration of work, belief, and artistry. Peaceful moments coexist alongside martial readiness. Families tend fields, artisans create pottery, and children play in the shadow of fortifications. Festivals and religious ceremonies provide occasions for reflection, celebration, and communal bonding, reinforcing social cohesion even in societies attuned to the possibility of conflict. Through these dual rhythms, the Mycenaeans cultivate resilience, maintaining a balance between security and the beauty of everyday life. Communication and intelligence also play a role in defense. Signals, messengers, and written records help coordinate responses to threats or trade disputes. Linear B tablets reveal detailed inventories of weapons, armor and provisions, indicating careful planning and logistical foresight. Knowledge, strategy, and organization complement physical prowess, emphasizing the multifaceted nature of Mycenaean military culture. The ethos of the warrior extends into stories, myths, and oral tradition. Tales of heroic deeds, legendary battles, and noble lineage serve both as entertainment and moral instruction. Young men internalize ideals of courage, loyalty, and honor, while the community at large appreciates the role of bravery in sustaining social order and defending the land. These narratives, preserved in frescoes, inscriptions, and oral recitations, reinforce identity and cultural continuity across generations. As dusk approaches, the citadels and villages settle into a quieter rhythm. Watchfires burn gently atop walls, their light flickering across stones and courtyards. Warriors practice in the fading glow, their movements deliberate, measured, and disciplined. Villagers return from labor, tending hearths and stables, while children pause to listen to elders recount stories of battles long past. In this serene twilight, the integration of defense, daily life, and cultural expression becomes palpable, a testament to the ingenuity and balance of Mycenaean civilization. Nightfall brings its own reflective moments. The sounds of distant waves, rustling leaves, and the occasional call of livestock form a gentle backdrop to contemplation. Imagine walking along a path near the citadel, passing quiet homes and fields, feeling the cool air settle over hills and valleys. The presence of fortifications is comforting rather than ominous, a reminder of communal effort, protection, and vigilance. Security is not achieved through fear alone but through coordination, skill, and shared responsibility. Even in the quiet of the night, the values of courage, honor, and preparation linger in the consciousness of the community. Children learn these principles through observation, games, and stories, ensuring that the knowledge of defense and the ideals of heroism are passed naturally from one generation to the next. The cycle of work, ritual, vigilance, and reflection continues seamlessly, illustrating the holistic integration of life, culture, and martial readiness in the Mycenaean world. As we settle into this calm, reflective space, the image of Mycenaean warriors and villagers coexisting in harmony with both defense and daily life offers a soothing perspective. Life is structured, purposeful, and rhythmical, yet it is also enriched by art, ritual, and the gentle presence of community. The Mycenaean world, in all its complexity, flows around us like a slow, reassuring current, carrying lessons of resilience, cooperation, and the quiet dignity of ordinary life. In closing, we leave behind the clang of bronze and the discipline of military practice to drift gently toward the natural world that sustains this society. Fields, hills, olive groves, and coastal waters remain, serene and timeless. The Mycenaeans, in their approach to defense and warfare, balance necessity with aesthetics, courage with strategy, and the needs of the many with the skill of the few. And in this quiet reflection, we too find a gentle lesson, that preparation, vigilance, and care can exist in harmony with beauty, art, and contemplation, soothing the mind as we drift slowly toward rest. As we drift through time, our journey takes us toward the twilight of the Mycenaean world. For centuries, these people flourished, building palaces, cultivating the land, and weaving complex networks of trade, culture, and belief. Yet, like the slow fading of daylight into evening, the era of the Mycenaeans begins to wane, their monumental walls and vibrant cities slowly quieting as new forces shape the Greek mainland and the wider Aegean world. By the late 13th and early 12th centuries BCE, signs of strain appear in Mycenaean society. Palaces show evidence of destruction, walls burned, archives disrupted, and communities scattered. Scholars continue to explore multiple factors behind this decline. Natural disasters such as earthquakes, resource depletion, internal social unrest, and perhaps invasions or migrations of new peoples. The precise combination remains a mystery, yet what is clear is the gradual unraveling of the palace-centered political and economic system that had sustained the Mycenaean kingdoms for centuries. Imagine the once bustling citadel of Mycenae, its corridors now quiet, workshops empty, and frescoes faded with time. The clatter of artisans' tools, the chatter of merchants, and the rhythms of daily life that once echoed through palace halls have dimmed. Families continue to cultivate fields, tend animals, and uphold rituals, but the grandeur and coordination of earlier centuries are slipping into memory. Villages become more self-contained, trade networks fragment, and central authority weakens, leaving communities to adapt to a world that is increasingly uncertain. In this period of transition, the resilience of the Mycenaean people is evident. Even as palaces fall and political structures crumble, cultural practices persist. Linear B tablets may cease to be written, yet pottery styles, religious rituals, and oral traditions endure, carried forward by generations who continue to cultivate the land, maintain sacred sites, and pass stories of ancestors and heroes. This continuity provides a bridge to the later Greek world, ensuring that even in decline, the essence of Mycenaean life influences the centuries to come. The fall of the palatial centers is not an abrupt collapse but a gradual fading, a gentle, melancholic shift that echoes in the landscape itself. Terraced fields are still tended, olive groves continue to produce fruit, and the hills remain dotted with modest homes. The natural world endures, unaffected by human turmoil, providing sustenance and continuity even as political structures dissolve. This juxtaposition of human fragility and environmental stability creates a reflective space, allowing us to appreciate the enduring rhythms of life that transcend individual societies. Trade and cultural exchange, once organized and centralized, slow but do not vanish entirely. Maritime networks contract, yet local communities continue to craft pottery, weave textiles, and exchange goods within their regions. Artisans maintain techniques honed over generations, and motifs from earlier frescoes appear on domestic pottery, suggesting a quiet persistence of aesthetic and symbolic values. Even in quieter times, the creativity and ingenuity of the Mycenaean people leave an enduring imprint on their surroundings. Religious life adapts as well. Shrines, tombs, and sacred groves remain important focal points, though large-scale palace rituals may cease. Household offerings, prayers, and seasonal festivals continue, reflecting a society that remains spiritually attentive even amid material and political decline. The gods and ancestors are still honored, providing continuity and comfort, linking past and present in a gentle rhythm of devotion. As the centuries progress, new peoples and cultures emerge in the Greek mainland, influenced by remnants of Mycenaean knowledge. By the early 1st millennium BCE, elements of Mycenaean culture, artistic motifs, religious practices, and heroic narratives blend into what we later recognize as classical Greek traditions. Homeric epics, composed many centuries after the palaces fell, draw upon memory and myth preserved from this earlier era, celebrating the deeds of kings, warriors, and heroes whose foundations trace back to Mycenaean society. Consider the enduring physical legacy as well. The citadel walls, tholos tombs, and remnants of palace complexes continue to rise from the hillsides, even in ruins. These structures, monumental and timeless, inspire awe and curiosity for generations to come. Archaeologists, historians, and travelers in later eras encounter the same cyclopean walls and lion gates that once defined the power and ingenuity of the Mycenaeans. The landscape itself becomes a silent storyteller, preserving memory and continuity through stone, earth, and architecture. Reflecting upon the Mycenaean legacy, we realize that their influence extends beyond material achievements. Social organization, trade networks, craft traditions, artistic expression, and spiritual practices all feed into the cultural evolution of Greece and the wider Mediterranean. The integration of daily life, religion, artistry, and military organization exemplifies a civilization whose complexity resonates even in memory and myth. The Mycenaean world is both particular and timeless, offering lessons in resilience, creativity, and the interweaving of human experience with environment and belief. As night falls gently over the hills and valleys where Mycenaeans once lived, the quiet earth holds echoes of their presence. Imagine walking among the ruins, feeling the cool stone beneath your hands, hearing the whisper of wind through olive trees, and sensing the continuity of human life across centuries. The stories of kings, artisans, farmers, and priests are embedded in the landscape, in the rhythm of work, the patterns of craft, and the enduring touch of the sacred. In this reflective calm, we feel a connection not only to the Mycenaeans themselves but to the broader tapestry of human history. The decline of the Mycenaeans, though marked by loss and uncertainty, also reminds us of the resilience of culture, the persistence of memory, and the quiet continuity of human endeavor. Even as palaces crumble, the essence of their society, the artistry, belief, labor, and storytelling, continues to ripple outward, influencing future generations. It is a gentle, soothing thought, that even when civilizations fade, the traces of their lives remain in stories, objects, landscapes, and the enduring patterns of human creativity. As we drift toward the close of this narrative, we carry with us the vision of a world that is at once ancient and alive, complex yet accessible, turbulent yet profoundly serene. The Mycenaean civilization in its rise, daily life, religious devotion, martial organization, and eventual decline, offers a rich panorama of human experience. By observing, reflecting, and imagining, we connect with a people separated from us by millennia yet bound by the familiar rhythms of life, labor, and reflection. In the soft darkness of night, as we imagine the hills, citadels, and villages resting quietly under a starlit sky, a sense of calm settles over the mind. The story of the Mycenaeans becomes a gentle companion, guiding thought into reflection, understanding, and rest. And in this quiet space, we feel the continuity of human life, the enduring impact of culture, and the serene beauty of a civilization that, though long past, remains alive in memory and imagination. As our journey through the Mycenaean world continues, we turn our attention to the enduring cultural expressions that remain perhaps the most tangible traces of this ancient civilization: their art, architecture, and material legacy. In the quiet contemplation of these creations, we begin to sense the soul of a society that valued beauty, order, and symbolic meaning as much as power and practicality. The Mycenaeans leave behind a landscape studded not only with walls and fortresses but also with intricate objects, monumental buildings, and visual narratives that speak across millennia. We start with architecture, the very bones of the civilization. The palaces of Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos are remarkable for both scale and sophistication. Cyclopean walls, composed of massive limestone blocks carefully fitted together without mortar, rise imposingly from hilltops, protecting citadels while demonstrating engineering mastery. Picture the Lion Gate at Mycenae, its sculpted relief depicting two powerful lions facing each other over a central column, an image both protective and symbolic, inviting awe and respect from all who approach. These structures are not simply defensive. They embody authority, communal effort, and a deep understanding of form and function. Inside the palaces, spatial design reflects a balance between administration, domestic life, and ritual. Throne rooms with raised platforms, storage chambers lined with clay jars, and workshops bustling with activity reveal a society carefully organizing its resources, power, and culture. Courtyards provide open space for gatherings and ceremonial events, connecting the interior of the palace to the outside world in a fluid, integrated manner. Frescoes decorate walls with scenes of nature, ceremony, and daily life, capturing both beauty and symbolic meaning in pigments derived from minerals, plants, and earth. Dolphins leap in sun-dappled waters, bulls charge across ceremonial spaces, and graceful dancers move in frozen yet dynamic motion, all immortalized on walls that have survived thousands of years. Moving beyond palaces, we find that Mycenaean artistry permeates even the most utilitarian objects. Pottery, often overlooked, combines functionality with aesthetic refinement. Large storage jars, cups, and bowls are painted with geometric patterns, spirals, and motifs inspired by flora and fauna. These designs, while pleasing to the eye, also communicate cultural identity, social status, and sometimes religious symbolism. Each stroke of pigment, each carefully formed curve of a vessel, reflects the hand and mind of an artisan who bridges practical necessity with creative expression. Even simple household items become carriers of cultural memory, shaping and reflecting the rhythms of life. Metalwork represents another pinnacle of Mycenaean craftsmanship. Bronze swords, daggers, and armor are often intricately decorated, combining martial function with artistry. Gold and silver jewelry, including necklaces, diadems, and ceremonial items, showcase not only technical skill but also an understanding of symbolism and display. Imagine holding a delicate gold pendant, its fine detailing capturing patterns of leaves, spirals, or abstract designs. Such objects reflect wealth, status, and aesthetic sensibilities, offering glimpses into the values and priorities of elite members of society, while ceremonial weapons bridge the sacred and the martial. The influence of Mycenaean culture extends to funerary architecture and practices. Tholos tombs, often called beehive tombs due to their domed shape, are monumental both in scale and design. These circular structures, carefully constructed with corbelled stone roofs, house elite burials accompanied by grave goods such as weapons, jewelry, and pottery. Entering one of these tombs in imagination, we feel the cool air, the sense of quiet reverence, and the weight of history pressed gently into stone. The design communicates permanence, authority, and a deep respect for lineage and ancestry, linking the living community with those who have passed beyond the veil of mortality. Beyond monumental structures, Mycenaean art also flourishes in frescoes, seals, and small decorative objects. Frescoes adorn palace walls and domestic spaces alike, featuring scenes of ceremonial activity, marine life, animals, and abstract motifs. The rhythmic patterns, flowing lines, and vibrant colors reveal a sophisticated aesthetic and an intimate engagement with the natural and spiritual worlds. Seals, often carved from stone or ivory, mark ownership and authority in administrative contexts, yet they also function as artistic objects, intricately engraved with symbols, figures, and patterns. In these small objects, the fusion of practicality and beauty becomes especially evident. Textile production, though ephemeral, contributes significantly to the Mycenaean cultural imprint. Weaving, dyeing, and embroidery transform wool, flax, and other fibers into garments and decorative textiles. Patterns reflect social identity, regional differences, and artistic creativity. Women, who largely carry out textile work, infuse everyday life with both labor and artistry, producing items that serve practical needs while also expressing aesthetic and symbolic meaning. The textures, colors, and designs become visual extensions of cultural values and personal expression, touching both daily routines and ceremonial occasions. As we wander through imagined streets, workshops of Mycenaean cities, we sense the pervasive influence of Minoan Crete, yet notice distinct innovations. Mycenaean architecture emphasizes fortification and linear order, while Minoan designs favor open spaces and fluidity. Artistic motifs blend naturalistic imagery with geometric precision, and religious iconography reflects both continuity and adaptation. The cultural dialogue between regions enriches the aesthetic landscape, producing a civilization that is simultaneously creative, adaptive, and resilient. Music, too, plays a subtle but persistent role in cultural life. Lyres, flutes, and percussion instruments accompany religious ceremonies, feasts, and daily work, their melodies weaving an invisible thread through society. Music bridges labor, ritual, and recreation, enriching both mundane and sacred moments. Imagine the gentle strumming of a lyre in a sunlit courtyard, or the rhythmic percussion accompanying a ceremonial procession along palace corridors. These sounds, though largely vanished in material record, resonate in our imagination, connecting us with the sensory world of the Mycenaeans. As the day wanes, festivals and gatherings punctuate the cultural landscape. Communal celebrations integrate art, music, dance, and ritual, blending civic and spiritual life. People dress in elaborately woven garments, adorn themselves with jewelry, and participate in processions and performances that reinforce identity, hierarchy, and continuity. The aesthetic choices, colors, patterns, and movements become a living language communicating values, status, and communal cohesion in ways both subtle and profound. Even as the Mycenaean palaces decline in later centuries, their artistic and architectural achievements leave a lasting imprint. Ruins, tombs, pottery, fresco fragments, and metalwork endure as markers of human creativity and cultural sophistication. Archaeologists and historians, centuries later, piece together these fragments, revealing a civilization whose aesthetic and technical accomplishments resonate across time. The careful combination of functionality, symbolism, and beauty in their art and architecture testifies to a culture that cherished both daily life and extraordinary expression. Reflecting upon the Mycenaean cultural legacy, we recognize a civilization that integrates labor, ritual, and artistry in a holistic way. Every object, structure, and image tells a story of intention, skill, and reflection. The material culture, from monumental fortresses to delicate jewelry, captures the rhythm of daily existence, the aspirations of rulers, and the spiritual consciousness of the people. In this careful interweaving of utility and expression, we glimpse the enduring heartbeat of a society, calm yet profoundly creative, structured yet imaginative. As twilight descends, the imagined landscape softens. Palaces, tombs, villages, and workshops rest under the gentle glow of a setting sun. Olive groves whisper in the breeze, frescoes catch the fading light, and the faint resonance of distant music seems to echo from long corridors. Walking along quiet streets, we sense the careful imprint of human hands across centuries, artisans shaping clay, goldsmiths hammering delicate patterns, architects balancing form and function. Every creation is a quiet testimony to the dedication, beauty, and intelligence of a people whose echoes we follow in memory. In these reflective moments, we understand that the Mycenaean world is not merely an ancient story of kings, warriors, and palaces. It is a living tapestry of aesthetic sensibility, architectural innovation, and cultural continuity. Art, music, architecture, and daily creativity converge to form a civilization whose imprint resonates far beyond its temporal boundaries. And as we allow this vision to settle in the mind, a sense of calm and wonder arises, guiding thought toward peaceful reflection and gentle rest. The legacy of the Mycenaeans, then, is both material and spiritual, tangible and imagined. In stone walls, frescoed halls, and delicate objects, we find evidence of human ingenuity, creativity, and reverence for both the natural and sacred worlds. Their cultural imprint shapes the Greek world that follows, inspiring myths, art, and architectural principles that endure for millennia. And in contemplating this enduring beauty, we are reminded of the quiet power of human expression, the seamless integration of life, work, and imagination, and the enduring serenity of a civilization that continues to speak softly across time. As we continue our tranquil journey through the Mycenaean world, our attention drifts toward the vast seas and the intricate networks that connected these ancient people to the wider Aegean and Mediterranean. Life in the Mycenaean civilization is not confined to palaces, fields, or fortresses alone. The movement of goods, ideas, and people across the water is central to the vitality of their culture. In this chapter, we explore trade, maritime activity, and the subtle ways Mycenaean influence spreads beyond their homeland, all while immersing ourselves in the serene rhythm of seafaring life. Picture the coastline of the Greek mainland, gentle waves lapping against rocky shores, harbors sheltered by natural inlets, and small boats bobbing in the clear morning light. Here, traders and sailors prepare their vessels, checking ropes, sails, and cargo. Ships of the Mycenaean period are sleek and nimble, designed for both transport and, when necessary, defense. Long wooden hulls, reinforced with overlapping planks, glide gracefully through the turquoise waters, carrying amphorae filled with olive oil, wine, or grain, and sometimes metal goods or crafted items destined for distant ports. Maritime trade is a lifeline for the Mycenaeans. While fertile valleys produce grain, olives, and livestock, certain essential materials are scarce locally. Tin, required for alloying bronze, must be imported from distant lands, while luxury items such as amber, ivory, or exotic stone often arrive from Egypt, Anatolia, or the Levant. In return, Mycenaean pottery, crafted with skill and adorned with elegant motifs, becomes a sought-after commodity across the Aegean, reaching Crete, Cyprus, and beyond. This exchange is not merely economic. It creates cultural bridges, disseminates artistic styles, and fosters networks of influence that extend far from the mainland. Harbors serve as hubs of activity and social interaction. Imagine the gentle clang of tools as sailors repair masts, the soft creaking of timber as cargo is loaded, and the murmur of voices coordinating movements. Traders negotiate agreements, merchants inspect goods, and scribes record inventories, sometimes using linear B script, the administrative language of the palaces. These moments, while practical, are imbued with a quiet rhythm, a gentle pulse that underpins the movement of wealth, ideas, and innovation. Sea voyages, while fraught with challenges, are conducted with remarkable skill. Navigators read the stars, observe wind patterns, and understand the subtleties of currents and tides. Knowledge of coastal landmarks, seasonal weather, and safe anchorages is transmitted orally and through practice, forming a living body of maritime wisdom. The Mediterranean becomes both a highway and a teacher, offering resources, inspiration, and occasional lessons in patience and resilience. Every journey connects distant communities, weaving them together in networks that sustain economic, cultural, and political life. Trade is not limited to physical goods. Cultural practices, religious ideas, and artistic motifs travel along with commodities. Frescoes, pottery designs, and religious symbols show influence from Crete, Egypt, and the Near East, blended with uniquely Mycenaean innovation. These cultural exchanges enrich artistic expression, ritual practice, and social organization. Even mundane objects such as storage jars or textiles carry with them traces of distant lands, subtle markers of interconnectedness that testify to a world both vast and intimately known. Markets on land complement maritime trade. Coastal towns and inland settlements serve as centers for local exchange, where farmers, artisans, and traders bring surplus goods to barter or sell. Imagine walking along a bustling street. The fragrance of freshly baked bread mingles with the scent of herbs and leather, the chatter of merchants negotiating prices blends with the laughter of children, and the gentle strumming of a lyre provides a musical backdrop. Here, economic activity is inseparable from social life, reinforcing communal bonds and transmitting knowledge, tradition, and cultural values. Mycenaean trade networks also play a subtle role in diplomacy and political influence. Gifts, alliances, and tribute often accompany commercial exchange, creating relationships that extend beyond immediate economic benefit. Palaces maintain records of these interactions, ensuring that long-distance connections support the stability and prestige of ruling elites. This sophisticated integration of commerce, culture, and politics demonstrates an advanced understanding of both local and regional dynamics, reflecting a society attuned to the complexities of interdependence. Beyond the Aegean, Mycenaean ships venture to the islands and coasts of the wider Mediterranean. Cyprus, Crete, the Levantine coast, and parts of Anatolia become familiar destinations. In these ports, Mycenaeans encounter diverse cultures, absorb new techniques, and exchange artistic and technological knowledge. The flow of ideas mirrors the flow of goods. Motifs, craftsmanship, and religious symbolism move alongside amphorae of wine and olive oil. Each voyage becomes a lesson in observation, adaptation, and subtle influence, reinforcing the idea that culture, like the sea, is fluid and interconnected. Maritime activity shapes not only commerce but also strategic awareness. Control of harbors, navigation routes, and coastal fortifications ensures the safety of trade, the movement of goods, and the projection of influence. Even during periods of peace, vigilance is maintained, reflecting the duality of maritime life: opportunity and risk, exploration and caution, freedom and responsibility. Communities living near the sea become adept at balancing these dynamics, blending economic pursuit with social and spiritual practice. Religious and ceremonial life intersects with trade as well. Offerings at coastal shrines, rituals conducted before voyages, and dedications of valuable goods to deities illustrate the integration of commerce with spiritual consciousness. Sailors and merchants acknowledge divine oversight in their endeavors, seeking favor for safe passage and successful transactions. This intertwining of practical and spiritual activity mirrors the broader Mycenaean worldview, where human labor, ingenuity, and devotion coexist seamlessly. Even the construction and decoration of ships reflect aesthetic sensibilities. Hulls may bear painted patterns or symbolic carvings, transforming functional vessels into floating expressions of identity and culture. Rowing and sailing are accompanied by rhythmic songs or chants, blending labor with music in a manner that sustains morale and reinforces communal cohesion. Every voyage becomes an extension of the cultural landscape, a movement of society itself across the gentle undulations of the sea. The cumulative effect of these networks is a civilization deeply interconnected, both internally and externally. Goods, ideas, and cultural practices circulate continuously, enriching the lives of Mycenaeans and their neighbors alike. Trade fosters innovation, spreads artistic motifs, and supports political structures, while the rhythms of maritime life provide a calming, continuous pulse to daily existence. The sea, vast and gentle, becomes both stage and participant in the story of the civilization, carrying with it the lifeblood of connection and influence. As evening falls, imagine the calm of a harbor at dusk. Boats tethered to wooden piers, sails furled, and the water reflecting the soft glow of the sunset. Traders tally inventories, artisans store their tools, and sailors rest after long journeys. The scent of salt water mingles with herbs and grain, the murmur of conversation drifts lazily across the docks, and lanterns flicker gently along pathways. The maritime world, alive with movement during the day, now enters a period of reflection, echoing the calm rhythms of life on land. Reflecting on the Mycenaean maritime networks, we recognize their profound impact on the civilization and its legacy. Commerce and connectivity sustain daily life, enable cultural exchange, and shape political power. Yet beyond the practical benefits, the movement across water fosters imagination, observation, and awareness of distant horizons. The Mycenaeans, through their ships and trade routes, extend their presence across space and time, leaving traces in distant lands that continue to echo through history. In the serene quiet of night, we imagine the waters calm under a starry sky, the gentle rocking of moored ships, and the soft sigh of waves against the shore. Each harbor, village, and palace connected by these networks becomes a thread in the larger tapestry of Mycenaean life. The civilization, though ancient, speaks to us through its structures, artifacts, and maritime connections, inviting reflection on the rhythms of human endeavor, ingenuity, and cultural continuity. Even as centuries pass and the Mycenaean world fades into history, the imprint of its trade and maritime networks remains. Artifacts found across the Mediterranean tell stories of interaction, movement, and exchange. Pottery shards in distant lands, inscriptions in archives, and architectural influences reveal a civilization that reached far beyond its hills and valleys. These connections, gentle yet persistent, remind us of the enduring power of human curiosity, enterprise, and the natural drive to explore, connect, and create. In closing, the story of Mycenaean trade and maritime activity is both practical and poetic, a gentle reminder of the intricate web of life that supports civilization. Boats glide across serene waters, goods and ideas travel from shore to shore, and communities thrive in quiet, coordinated rhythm. As we allow this vision to settle into our minds, we feel the calm continuity of human experience, the subtle beauty of connection, and the soft, enduring presence of a people whose influence extends far beyond the horizon.